Welcome everyone to episode 1 of the Money Minded podcast. So basically the goal of the podcast is to introduce anything finance to whoever's interested in knowing more. We also want to shine some light about what to expect when people just start off trying to build up their finances. My name is Huang. I'm a graduate from Queen Mary University of London. I did economics and finance. I've been trading for about roughly 1.5 years now in the Malaysian bursa market. I'm also been trading in the crypto market as well recently. And without further ado, today I'm going to welcome a very, very close friend of mine from Zen's Trading Academy.
What's up guys, my name is Zen, I'm a trader and I'm super excited to be part of this podcast.
Thank you very much for making some time to come on this podcast. I know you've got a very, very busy schedule with your trading academy. So why don't we just get started about what are you doing right now other than trading? A bit of background about yourself.
So right now I'm actually working full time in a logistics company and I'm more in the tech department, doing more of the back-end data analytics, just crunching numbers, solving problems.
You mentioned that you're really big into analytics. Does that really help you much in trading?
I think I brought that approach into the stock market and treated it more like a puzzle or a game rather than just aiming to make money.
Right, but that's just like how everyone starts, right? We all just want to start making money the moment we step into the market. That's just the mindset that we all have, right?
Yeah, and I feel like that really hinders a lot of people when they focus too much on the money. The stock market is a very weird place where the more you think about the money, the harder it gets.
So sorry about starving you listeners out there, but a bit more about Zen's background. So how long have you been trading? What markets do you normally go into?
So my trading journey actually started not too long ago in April 2020. That was right at the beginning of MCO. I'm sure most of us got the interest in the stock market at the start of the MCO. So for most traders or investors, they'll call me relatively new. But I actually took the first few months until June to study before I actually started trading properly. And now I'm up about 300%.
Wow, that's amazing for someone your age, right? I mean, how does it feel coming right out of university, just graduating?
Honestly, I never thought I would be in this position. At the beginning, I was actually using a small amount because my main goal in the stock market was actually to invest like majority of the people. But I stumbled across trading and I managed to find a method that I was super confident in. So I decided to go all in and put all my wealth in because I trusted my system.
Right, so wasn't it kind of risky to go all in so early in your trading life? Was there ever like a moment of doubt when you started going into the market?
Of course, there's definitely, even after a year of trading, there is still a bit of doubt lingering, but with the amount of time that I put into studying my strategy, it's actually given me a lot of confidence, and that's why I knew I could do it in the long term, and that's why I was confident to put in more money into my trading game.
That's actually pretty amazing. Like I said, you're what? Same age as me, 24. Normally people, when they just get out of uni, the first thing they focus on is, I want to start working in a well-established company. But what you did was put your time and effort focusing and investing in the stock market. So how did you actually get there? How do you start by going, hey, I'm going to take this seriously now? Not to say you're not going to be focusing on your job, but you're going to be pumping in a lot of time into investing and trading while having a job. While most of us over here are like working like 9 to 9s, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the society we live in where we are forced to go down a 9 to 5 route trying to climb the corporate ladder. And honestly, that was the route that I was going down as well. And in my first job, I actually worked in a bank. And that was one of the most miserable times of my life because it was at the beginning of the MCO, right? All the branches were closed, but they still forced you to go into office to do nothing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And looking back, actually, it is a blessing in disguise because sitting there in office with nothing to do, I spent 8 hours a day basically studying my charts, right? And in banks, they basically block every single website. So I was studying through my phone, drawing graphs on papers, and basically studying non-stop for 3 full months, 8 hours a day at work. And right now, I'm actually still working a full-time job because I'm still treating day trading as a side hustle rather than a replacement to my full-time job. Because I don't want to quit a full-time job just to jump into another full-time job.
Right. So when you said you've done your back testing and things like that, you're not exaggerating when you said you were pumping in like 100 hours, right? If you guys can see what I'm seeing now, Zen has showed me like his Excel sheets and his back test logs. There was so much data in that Excel sheet. Is that just the amount, like the minimum amount of effort you need to succeed in trading?
In reality, I did put in over 500 hours worth of back testing, just going through charts, going through patterns, testing patterns even though I didn't know what to expect. And honestly, out of the 500 hours, most of the most of the hours actually went into proving many strategies that didn't work. So I believe that a lot of up and coming traders will have to go through this eventually if they really want to succeed in a shorter amount of time. If not, it will really be based on your time in the market where you will learn basically what I backtested.
I mean, in hindsight, you and I are pretty lucky to be able to start off with like a pretty decent capital coming into the market, especially when it comes to trading. So some of the listeners out there may not have that sort of financial backing. What do you advise to them those who wants to get into the market but they don't really have the capital to start yet? What do you advise them to do?
You've heard 1,000 times where it takes money to make money, especially in the stock market, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have the savings for it, if you don't have the starting capital for it, it's just really not worth your time to jump straight into trading. But that doesn't mean you can't go into it in the future. I believe that trading is one of those skills where you learn it once, you can use it for a lifetime. So it's never too early or never too late to actually pick up trading. But sometimes it might be a bit too early to jump in the market if you don't have enough capital. So you can always backtest strategies without any money, and that's what I did. Or even start with a small account without the expectation of making thousands and thousands every single day.
So like paper trading and things like that.
Yeah, paper trading is one of the strongest tools, I think, for backtesting. Or if you really want to feel the thrill of the market, even a small amount of capital would work. For those of you who want to build up a good capital base before starting to trade, this podcast will actually cover methods that you can use to build up your wealth through good financial planning and good financial discipline.
I think this is where I might drop the disclaimer that, we're not doing like asking you to buy anything. There's like we don't offer any financial advice, just in case you guys are expecting that. Not really. It's just a little brief truth, since this is still the pilot episode. So just to move on to the next question that I would find pretty interesting to hear. We know that trading in the market can potentially bring us a lot of money. Let's not water it down. It does. So why don't more people go into this market? Why don't more people focus more on trading rather than just working a 9 to 9, just in your opinion,
I think because traditionally trading takes a lot of time to master, and most people are in it for the quick bucks,
Right.
And I also think there's a social stigma, especially in Asian countries, where you have to go into the corporate world, you have to get a 9 to 5, and your success is really based on your salary. And I think that is the downfall of our society right now. I think a lot of the stress, a lot of the unhappiness, and a lot of the problems with a lot of social problems right now are all linked to this one stigma that we have to get a job. I mean, understandably, our parents want us to live a
they did
safe, stable life.
They did invest in us quite a lot.
I understand that, but at the same time, if you're going to be doing what the other million people are doing, how do you expect to be the 1% that stands out? That was my main motivation, to do something different, right? Because my dad told me, if I'm not going to do more, I'll never achieve more. Right? I even asked my dad, if I were to work the same way as you, what are my chances of being as successful as you? And he told me close to none. Because, let's be real, if 1 million people are climbing the corporate ladder, but there's only 20 CEO seats, right? What makes you stand out from the rest? And what makes you more deserving to get the CEO seat? So I wanted to go down a more individual route, trying to find my own way to make it to the top. And I just feel like I'm very lucky that everything just clicked in that sense.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned, family stigma and everything, which is actually a segue into our next part. So how did your family take it when you were telling them like, hey, I want to do trading seriously?
I mean, 99% of our listeners will probably have the same reaction if they told their family about going to the stock market. It's always, stock market is a scam, or the stock market never works, right? Work hard for your money, don't try and gamble your way to the top. That's because 95% of people who join the stock market, they actually fail. And
that's very true.
From your parents' perspective, it makes sense. They just want the best for you. They don't want you to take excessive risk. And that was the same for me. Obviously, everybody had doubts at the beginning, because when I started, everybody was making money. The stock market was on fire, right?
The glove days, I remember.
Yeah, back in the glove days.
7 Bulls, Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan. That was the time, man.
That was crazy. You close your eyes. You put your money into anything, the next day you sell, you will make money.
Definitely. Yeah.
So it took quite a while for me to clear this doubt in everybody's mind, because sure, in my first 6 months I made money, but everybody had that same opinion where usually it takes a trader more than a year to do well. And of course, I have my bad months, my bad weeks, my bad days, and it's all part of the learning process. But when you are surrounded by that much doubt, right? It's that much doubt and that much negative stigma, it can be quite hard to sort of keep your head up and believe in what you have tested. So it took me quite a while to get past that stigma in my family. But as the results come, honestly, your parents will be happy with anything you do as long as you show the results.
They'll be living off your wealth eventually.
Well, hopefully we get there one day.
It will probably go from what are you doing with your money in the stock market to when are you finally going to buy me dinner or something like that. Right? So was there ever like a turning point? Was there ever that point where your family or your friends, when they started doubting you, they suddenly like switched their opinion, like, hey, you're finally serious about this? What point was that in your life?
Contrary to what I mentioned earlier, I think my friends and family were very supportive, even though there was doubts, right? Even though there were doubts there, they were always telling me, make sure you don't lose it all, don't play so much, play smaller. How about you stop now while you're ahead?
It's never enough, isn't it?
Let's be real, it's never enough. You make your first 1,000, you want to go 10,000. You make your first 10,000, you want to make 100,000. For me, the turning point was actually when I tried to simplify my strategy so that I can explain it in layman terms.
This is just like studying. It's kind of like the same thing, right?
Yeah, so it's like taking further maths and trying to condense it down into very simple addition and subtraction terms. So when I managed to do that and I could explain my strategy to my parents in a way that they could understand, I think that was when they actually realized that, okay, it's not about buying and holding and hoping it goes up. There's actually a method to all of this madness.
Right. So you also mentioned earlier that you were working a full-time job, right? You were working in analytics. So how do you juggle a job and do your live trading sessions every day, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. consistently, by the way? How do you juggle that?
Honestly, I would say just a lot of time management. I have my daily schedule all planned out almost to the hour, so I know exactly when I have to get certain things done, right? And as for trading while working, I went into trading with the idea of making it a side hustle. So when I was developing my strategy, I was trying to find ways that I could trade almost part-time, right? I wanted to find a strategy that I didn't have to sit in front of the computer for the whole day. And I guess that worked out in the end. Right now, my strategy requires me to check on the screen once every few hours. And when things are about to happen, I have my trusty alerts to alert me so that I can focus on my work for the remainder of the day and then trade when I have to.
No way, you're telling me that it's actually hard to make money. I thought it was supposed to be easy, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't stock supposed to be click buttons make money?
Yeah, buy low and sell high, right? That's just the general idea. You know, when I see you trading every day, you know, when you come off from a profitable trade, you know, you make it look so easy. Like, just, is there any stress that comes in while you're in the trade?
In the beginning, yes, right? There's definitely stress of losing money because everybody has that primal emotion, which is basically fear. Honestly, I'm sort of numb to emotion when I'm trading, especially because that was one thing I had to condition myself in the beginning. I knew after countless amounts of studying, going into trading psychology, that emotion is the number one enemy. And I've been working on my trading psychology since day one. So a lot of people just think that it's just knowing what to buy and sell. But honestly, in my opinion, trading is 80% mental game. And a lot of the work goes behind the scenes, and it's really hard to show the amount of work you have to do to condition your mind to trade efficiently and sort of block out all kind of emotions.
If you don't mind me asking, right, you make a lot of money when you're trading. I mean, that's no secret when you watch your live streams. So what is stopping you from just spending that money that you made? Why do you plan to reinvest that money?
Because at this point, it's not really about the money anymore to me, right? I don't find joy in buying things, right? I don't find joy in owning things. To me, a pair of Gucci slippers is as good as a pair of 15 ringgit slippers, right? As long as it gets me from point A to point B, that's all that matters. I value the utility of an item more than the brand value. I guess to put it
Shit.
simply, the money is more of a byproduct to it. And following the logic of why I even got into the market in the first place, I was just trying to grow my wealth as quickly as possible. So I have a target of where I want to be before I hit 25. And trust me, I'm very far away, and that is basically what keeps me saving, keeps me reinvesting instead of spending, because I have no interest in the short-term satisfaction of purchasing something fancy just to show off to people that I don't care about. I would rather work for something that can keep generating me cash, and then I can do whatever I want in the future.
Right. That's a very interesting mindset for someone who's, so young. I mean, practically speaking, like 24 years old, handling that much amount of capital. Just a very side curveball question that I'm very interested in. Do you have any sort of pre-market rituals before you start your day or before you take on a trade? Are you like very spiritual when it comes to your trades?
As much as I work on my mental or psychological side of trading, I'm not really spiritual in that sense. The only ritual that I have on a daily basis, not really pre-market, this is pre-market and post-market. When I'm not trading, I always make sure to count my blessings.
So I can expect like lunches coming from you. Or
So basically, it's very easy to get carried away with what you don't have, especially in trading, because it's very easy to look at things that you did wrong, look at things that you missed. But it's always good to take a step back to realize, wow, I'm in such a privileged position where I have the opportunity to even give trading a chance, and at the same time be able to live comfortably, have a roof over my head, and have the ability to do what I'm doing every single day without too much worry. And I think that is my main driver every single day. Knowing that I've been given this chance to do what I'm doing, I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to waste a single second of it.
Right, so you mentioned that during your trades you can often get carried away, right? So I assume that happens when you're on a hot streak, or when you're losing for a consecutive streak. Just kind of elaborate on how a trader can prevent themselves from getting carried away while they were trading.
In my opinion, I think the best way to sort of keep yourself disciplined when you're trading is honestly having a partner to trade with, having an accountability partner, or even better, if you can find a mentor to sort of guide you in the right direction. Because if you are going to do it yourself, chances of you unconsciously building on bad habits is very, very high. And I feel like I myself have gone down deep holes when I'm trading, especially when I'm on a hot streak, like you mentioned, or when I'm starting to take multiple losses in a row. It's very hard to sort of pull back, sort of control yourself when nobody else is there to control you, right? Now, I wish I did have a mentor at the beginning, but because trading in bursa is such a niche topic, right? Most of the people in bursa know that bursa is just a massive pump and dump,
Buy on rumors,
sell on news kind of platform, or you're just a long-term investor with insider news, right? So it was really hard for me to find somebody to learn from, and I had to resort to those free YouTube gurus that actually cover the US stock market, and I basically learned what I could, right, and tried to adapt it to the local market all by myself. And that is honestly why I started my YouTube channel, which is to provide resources for people who are interested in trading bursa, because very rarely would you find free resources to trade in bursa.
Thanks for saying what you say, because it basically helps me segment into the next question, right? So who do you say that really influenced your trading life? Like, are there any specific names out there that really influenced you to improve your game?
If you've looked into trading on YouTube, I'm sure you've seen a few names like Ricky or Stephen Ducks.
Stephen Ducks was one of my first ones. Yeah,
exactly. So I actually studied a lot of different strategies, but none of them seem to work because we don't have enough volume for technical analysis to properly work in bursa. So I thought to myself, what trading in US best represents trading in bursa? And I thought, penny stocks.
Yeah.
So honestly, all of my trading progress can be credited to Tim Sykes. I learned almost all of my strategies from him, right? And I basically took his strategies and sort of back tested it here in bursa.
Right. So let's now talk about the beginning of our trading journey, well, mostly yours, right? I'm pretty sure we can excuse the glove market golden age where every click you click, every sell button you click would generate you gold. But what happened after that? Like, I'm pretty sure we started off losing money, right? Right after that, it wasn't as easy as we thought it was. So what was it that you specifically missed out during that time of trading?
Yeah, so right after the glove mania, everything sort of went downhill from there. I started taking losses after losses after losses. I was going off a hot streak, so I was actually sizing up into my losses, which is obviously, in hindsight, one of the worst things that you can do.
Yeah.
But that was the journey. I mean, that was the route that I took. I was confident after a hot month. I wanted to size up, I wanted to make more, but ended up losing a big chunk of my profits. And I think that a very important skill that I learned from that period of time is knowing when to go aggressive and when to step back in the market. When things are going slow, it's better to sort of size down and sort of gauge whether your strategy still works as well in different market conditions. But since that was the first time I experienced a downturn or like a slow market, I was basically going in guns blazing and basically learning it the hard way.
Right. So do you think it would have been different if, let's say, you didn't start off with so much capital? Let's say you started off with a smaller chunk, so you were losing a smaller amount. But you technically are still learning just as much as you are now with such a big capital, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it would have been better to start off small. I would highly recommend everybody to start off with a small capital. But back when I was trading at the beginning, like I said, I was on a super hot streak, right? I was firing away, hitting home runs left and right, and my confidence was at an all-time high.
300%, by the way, just in case you guys forgot. 300%, he flipped his portfolio within how many months do you think?
Right now, actually, I just passed the 300% mark, and I'm basically about 9 months into my trading.
Proper trading, you mean?
Into my proper trading, yeah. And honestly, I'm quite confident that I can continue this performance because this 300% didn't come from any one single gigantic trade. It came from 500 over trades, and I never risked more than 1% of my portfolio in each trade. So I believe that even if the market is not so hot anymore, as long as I continue executing well, I will still get the same results over a large sample size.
One more thing that came to my mind while we were talking about this, you mentioned that you were solely focused on the bursa Malaysian market. Was there ever a temptation for you to, like me, I sort of branched out not just from bursa market, but I went to cryptocurrencies. I went to trade in using eToro to start trading in the US market. Was there ever a temptation for you to swap markets and try to apply your strategies there instead?
Definitely. I was very tempted to go into the Forex market actually. I started studying a few pairs like gold USD and the GBP, basically pound USD.
What made you change your mind?
But then I started watching a few sort of motivational entrepreneurship kind of videos. I know it sounds a bit cringy, but one thing that I learned from these videos is that I have time, right? And since one of the things I preach the most in my trading is sustainability, my goal is not to rush. I want to stick to a method that I think that jumping into a different market will take me another 3 to 6 months before I can find a solid sustainable method like what I have now in bursa. And ever since I started my trading academy, most of my time and resources have gone into the academy, and that's why I sort of slowly backed away from forex trading for now. Not to say that I won't jump into forex or crypto in the future. If I find that forex is more sustainable than bursa trading in the long run, then I'll definitely think about jumping over.
Right. So through that sentence that you just spoke out, basically, if there was ever a keyword that came out from that sentence was the word consistency, right? So how important is it to be consistent as a trader, in your opinion?
To me, consistency is the number one driver. Consistency is everything for me right now. Consistency is the one thing that I repeat to myself every single day, right? I want to keep everything consistent. I want to keep my postings consistent. I want to keep my content consistent. I want to keep my trading consistent. I want to keep my lifestyle consistent. I want to keep everything consistent.
But it's funny for a trader because especially as a young trader, you have that drive to be so greedy sometimes. Let's say you're super lucky, you buy into a stock, and it goes up, let's say 20%, and then you're just so greedy that you're always having that mindset of, okay, the next trade I'm going to take, I'm going to be aiming for more than 20%, right? How do you get over that greed as a young trader?
I think for me, it's not specifically getting over the greed. It's when I'm going into a trade, I'm always asking myself, if I take this trade, will it be profitable in the long run? Because honestly, what is the point of making a sum of money if I can only do it once? And if a trade is not sustainable, right? Logically, if I do it multiple times, I will be net negative in the long run.
That's right.
And that is the main driver for me to stay consistent. I want to keep my results consistent. I think I've gone through enough roller coasters at the start of my trading journey to sort of keep the greed of gambling sort of in hibernation deep inside my neural network.
Right. So if you don't mind sharing to the listeners, are there any sort of examples, like life examples that you've had that you broke off from that consistent key, that you sort of had to kick yourself because you didn't really follow those rules? Are there any examples that you're willing to share?
Yeah, actually at the start of this year, I took one of my biggest losses on live trades, right? I was live streaming and I lost 26,000 in front of, there wasn't that many people, but it's out there for you to watch on my channel. I basically took a big dip buy on Top Glove on the day that all of the big institutions were shorting it. And on that day, I broke all of my rules. I bought in way too big, right? So my risk management was out the window and I didn't stop my loss.
It's sort of a stupid question, but why didn't you follow your rules? Just to put it out there.
That's when greed takes over. Sometimes, even though you have 99% discipline, the 1% is usually the one that costs you the most, right? And I broke my discipline once and it costed me a lot of money. So you live and you learn. It's what's done is done.
But to be fair, I feel like as though all these big losses, they're the times when you sort of learn the most. Like I remember one of my biggest losses ever came from one of the worst trades I've ever taken in my life. It was basically, all this stock was basically pumping up so much, and I just felt so FOMO that I bought in at the peak. And obviously at the time itself, when I bought in, I didn't know it was like gonna dip, right? Right after I bought, the whole thing just dipped, and I couldn't exit my sale. Every time I tried to put in an order to sell, the price would be like already flying down way beyond the sell price. So I think that was one of the moments where I felt like, shit, this is something that I really have to learn from. I'm never going to do this mistake again. And I personally think that if the loss was small, I really wouldn't have learned. I would probably make the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. That is just how the market works. I feel like this is something that every single trader will go through, whether you like it or not. No matter how disciplined you are, you will crack your discipline one day and you will have to learn it the hard way.
So something a bit more positive, right? We just talked about one of our biggest losses. What about our biggest wins, right? So you can take the floor on that.
Funnily enough, it's the same pattern. Another big dip buy. One of my biggest wins was a 35,000 ringgit trade. I think that was 20% rebound on Gets, one of the recent pump and dumps.
So since we are coming off one of the biggest losses, right? I'm pretty sure coming off losses or coming off a streak of losses definitely hits you very, very hard psychologically, right? Me specifically,
Yep.
I just came off a week hiatus from trading because I took a very, very big loss, or at least I was not following my rules. I was coming off multiple losses. I was sizing down at the same time, which is good, but still a loss is a loss. So how do you sort of get over that psychological effect? Even though you know that the strategy that you play, if you roll it 10 times, you win like 6 times out of 10. It would, in the long run, net you a profit. But how do you get over that losing streak?
So there's actually 3 main rules that I follow when it comes to trading psychology. My first one is I always look at my statistics. Even though, I might have made a mistake, I might have done something stupid that caused me to take a big loss or bigger than average loss, but the statistics are always there to catch me when I fall.
So sorry, just to interrupt that. When you say statistics, where do you get your statistics from?
So the statistics are all from back testing and also tracking each of my trades, so I know exactly what to expect. I know that if I were to take this trade again another 10 times, I know roughly or almost exactly how much money I will make. So when you know how to forecast your results, it makes it a lot easier to bounce back from losses because you can look forward to sort of recovering from these trades as long as you stay disciplined, right? And my second rule is to step away from trading like how you did. You take a break from trading when you take a big loss because
it definitely affects your next play, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, it's always good to protect your capital, especially when you are emotionally unstable. And my third rule is I know that all it takes is time for my mind to sort of digest these emotions, and it usually fades away within 2 to 3 days. And I know that if I can maintain extremely discipline within the 2 to 3 days and get myself back on track, everything will go back as normal, and I'll just have to work a bit harder, stay more disciplined to sort of dig myself out of the hole.
So you mentioned risk management. That's a very, very big topic for traders. Maybe you can leave that for episode 2, like the next podcast or something, but just go lightly into what the definition of risk management is to you.
Sure thing. Risk management, I think one of the 3 pillars of a successful trader. So risk management will help you control your results. For new traders, they tend to go all in every single trade because they want to make money, right? They use all their capital to try and make as much as they can.
Funny you say that. That's basically what happened to me when I started trading. When I started trading like Supermax, Top Glove, during the glove days, like I never had anything like risk management, but I always came out on top because, you know, I was really, really lucky. I had that fake perception of the market that every click I click will net me some profit. But that's just not the case when things suddenly started dying down. When things started to normalize,
Yep.
I started making loss after loss, thinking that I was like a superhuman at trading when I'm actually not.
Yep, I've actually spoken to quite a few traders who share the same experience as you, where they were making money during the glove run, but because of the lack of risk management, all it took was one bad trade, and since they went all in, that one bad trade sort of took half or even 70% of their account. And that is what risk management is there to prevent. So risk management is basically a concept where you control each of your losses. Every trade you take, you have a set amount of loss that you can take before you jump out of a trade. And that sort of put me on a path of profitability because it allowed me to control my loss. So I kept my losses very small while letting my winners run. So big wins, small losses. That's how you slowly reap the net positive trade by trade.
So we're kind of running out of time. So we're going to go through our final segment right now. I mean, it might be a little bit cliche to ask you this, but what are the 3 things that you would tell your younger self as a trader right now? I mean, for me, it would definitely be somewhere along the lines of when I was listening to some trading podcasts way back when, one of the real things that made me flip my trading game or actually change my perspective of trading is before you learn how to win, you have to learn how to lose, which basically ties into everything that's risk management, right? I can't really get into a trade without knowing how much I'm going to lose or how much I'm expected to win. Because if I don't have those 2 pillars, I'd basically be a chicken without its head. I'll be hoping to sell at the peak. I'd be hoping to buy at the bottom, which is, if you really think about it, to catch that sort of movement day after day, trade after trade, is basically impossible. Right?
Yep, I fully agree with that statement. I think in my development as a trader, I didn't get better at trading. I just got better at losing. I just got better at accepting losses, and I got better at sort of being disciplined, right? I think that was one of the strongest points that I think I would tell myself in the past. That is to learn how to lose and learn how to accept losses. And I think the second most important thing I would tell my younger self is to stay disciplined. Always look at your statistics so that you remind yourself what you can expect to make if you follow your discipline, and also how big losses will sort of hinder your performance, and how it's never ever worth it to sort of gamble on any trades because the risk of a big loss is never ever worth it.
I think another thing to me that I wished my younger self knew was basically what we mentioned before. Although it sort of ties in with learning how to lose, but risk management really is king when it comes to trading. You really don't want to blow your account right before you even get into the thick of trading, right? You want to be able to sustain your losses.
Risk management. No trader will be profitable without risk management. I guarantee that if you don't know risk management, you're probably losing money at this point.
Or if you're not, you're going to be losing money in the long run.
Yeah.
So just to sum it up, risk management is king. Learn how to lose and
stay disciplined. A big loss is never ever worth it.
Alright, so thank you very much, Zen, for being on the podcast pilot episode. If anyone out there who is interested in trading or has been interested in trading for a long time, if you'd like to be on the podcast, please slide into our DMs or let us know something about yourself so we can sort of schedule something out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hope to see more episodes coming up, and make sure you are following this space for any future podcast episodes.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something new, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Money Minded.